guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be sharing with you my top 5 favorite bronzers for contouring. And this is really going to be for people with similar skin tone to me. Well, really anywhere from the range of fair to medium can kind of get away with most of these bronzers using them as a contour. So before we get into this, I did want to let you guys know about a couple of things. I will put a timestamp down below in case you're not interested in a quick update so you can get right into the bronzers. But I did want to let you guys know, you probably noticed I am wearing a Sephora smock, and yes, I am working at Sephora again. I'm very, very excited about it. I actually started earlier this week. I just hadn't had a chance to tell you guys because all of the videos that you saw over the last 2 weeks were pre-recorded. So we went on vacation. We were gone for like 8 days, and we went to Idaho and Montana, and we were all over the place. But it was a really super fun trip, and before I left on that trip, I knew I was going to be gone a while, and I knew when I got back I was starting working right away at Sephora. So I pre-filmed as much as I could so that when I got back, I could just focus on starting my job again and, you know, getting unpacked and settled back in and all of that, which always takes a while. So anyway, I haven't filmed in over 2 weeks. I feel like I've been gone forever, even though you guys would have seen videos that whole time. I hadn't been filming. So I feel a little bit like, what is the word when you kind of like lose your sync, you know? I haven't filmed in so long. I felt a little awkward about filming today, and I was trying to figure out what to film, and I have some ideas for videos. I just didn't have time to really like do the research I needed for those. So I do have like a dupes video coming up for you guys. I was thinking about doing a monthly favorites, but because I was gone for a big chunk of last month, I was using the same products over and over again, and there wasn't really that many products that like inspired me to want to do a favorites this month, so I'm probably not going to be doing that one. But anyway, I thought I would just do a fun video like a bronzer favorite. Really, the reason I thought about doing this video, since I started working at Sephora again, it's like the #1 question people that ask me is, what is the best bronzer for contouring with? And I was like, you know what? So many people wanted to know the answer to this question. This would be a great video to film. Most of these products are not going to surprise anybody. Most of these are talked about quite often on YouTube, but there is a reason they're talked about. They are great products, and these specific ones that I chose, the reason I chose them is because they are bronzers that lean cooler. So if you're going to be using a bronzer to contour your skin, you want to pick one that has a cool undertone. Whether your undertone is warm, neutral, or cool, a cooler undertone is going to mimic a shadow, and that's essentially what you're trying to create when you're contouring your face. You want to mimic that shadow to downplay any areas that you want to kind of recess on your face, and then use your highlighting powders to bring forward any features that you want to bring forward and to highlight. So that is kind of the basics of contouring and highlighting. If you do have a warmer undertone, you can get away with contouring with a warmer contour. However, the cooler undertone powders are just going to work better specifically for contouring, and especially if you have a neutral or cool undertone, you got to go with a cool product. So all of the bronzers that I picked out do have a cool undertone, so you'll kind of see what I'm talking about here in a second. Basically, a cool undertone just means there's like grays under. In a bronzer, it usually has like a grayish look to it, whereas a warm bronzer can kind of look orangey. So if you ever see someone contouring, they get kind of that orange stripe, it's just because they're using a bronzer that is a little bit too warm for their skin tone. If you swatch in the store, like if you're in Sephora or in an Ulta, and you swatch a couple bronzers right next to each other, you'll be able to tell which one is warmer and which one is cooler almost immediately. Sometimes it's hard if you're just swatching one all on its own to tell if it's a warm or a cool bronzer, but if you compare it to another bronzer, then you can see which one has a little bit more orangey red undertones and which one has more of those kind of grayish, bluish undertones. So that's what you're looking for, something with a cool undertone. Don't be afraid to ask the employees either, because a lot of times employees in the stores know what products are working and which ones are selling the best, so don't be afraid to ask. But these ones here are my top 5 picks. Some are drugstore and some are high-end. Actually, most of them are high-end, and there's one drugstore in here, so let's go ahead and get into this. All right, so we're actually gonna start with this guy here because this is what I am wearing today. It does create a very, very subtle contour. I did contour my cheekbones, my jawline, and my forehead because I do have kind of a larger forehead. So I have contoured all of that today using this powder. I don't usually contour my nose. Powder you could use to contour your nose as well. This is the Nars Laguna powder. So mine is almost gone. If you guys can believe it, I am still using this product. So there is only a tiny, tiny bit left in here, but I do already have a backup, and I'm gonna use this to swatch because I don't think I'll get a good swatch out of that other one. So this is the Stephen Klein palette from Nars, but right here, this larger powder here is also the Laguna from Nars. Now, this is probably the only one that I picked that has a little bit of a shimmer to it. It is not a true shimmer, it is more of a satin finish, but on the skin, when you apply it to your face with a brush, you really don't pick up on that shimmer. It's very, very subtle. In the swatch, you are going to be able to see it pretty good. So that is the swatch right there of Laguna. So you can see that little bit of shimmer is picking up in the light, but as I mentioned, on your face, you really, really don't see it. So don't be afraid of the tiniest bit of shimmer. You don't want anything too shimmery usually for contouring with, but I feel like this one here is about as shimmery as you would want to get with a contour powder. As I mentioned, I think this is a beautiful contour for really fair to medium skin tones can use this powder, and I think it's really, really pretty. This one of all the ones that I picked is the warmest, but it's still very cool. So when you see the other swatches down my arm next to this one's going to look the most orange because it is the most warm out of all of the powders that I picked for this. Okay, so next up I have my Too Faced Chocolate Soleil Bronzer. This is just a mini size that I got in a kit. I do eventually want to get the full size because this is a perfect contouring powder. It is so, so beautiful, blends out gorgeously, and it does have those cooler undertones. This one is completely matte. Unlike the Laguna, this one is very, very matte. It looks a lot darker than the Laguna, if you can see that. And look how much more cool it looks. Like this one just looks super orange next to that, although on the skin it doesn't look that way. As you can see, I have it on today. But this Chocolate Soleil powder is a lot cooler. I do get a lot of clients who ask me, you know, what is the difference between the milk chocolate and the dark chocolate? Are they kind of the same undertones? They are similar. They are very, very similar. The whole idea was the milk chocolate was meant for fair skin tones. The Chocolate Soleil works for most like medium, light medium skin tones, and then the dark chocolate is meant for deeper skin tones. I will say though, I do kind of get pretty fair in the fall, winter, and the milk chocolate does not work for me. It is very, very light, so you have to be like porcelain fair for that to show up on your skin. And it is a little warmer than the Chocolate Soleil original. So this one has those cooler undertones. I would say that the milk chocolate is more similar to Laguna as far as the undertone. It's kind of almost like a neutral undertone, not very warm and not very cool, just kind of right in between. So it's not my favorite powder. I think if you do have very porcelain, very fair skin, like if you are a 1Y01 in the Sephora's color IQ, you probably would want to try the milk chocolate because this one will show up too deep on you, but it is definitely a little bit warmer. Okay, next up, another one that I recommend all the time to clients. This one here is the Hoola Bronzer from Benefit, and this is a classic bronzer. It is so good for contouring. It's probably, of all the bronzers that I'm going to mention today, probably the most cool undertone. It's very, very cool undertone, so it is perfect for contouring with. It's not going to show up on deeper skin tones. That is it right here. It's 100% matte as well, so it's a little, as you can see, this right here is the Chocolate Soleil. It's deeper, it's a little darker, and then the Hoola is a little bit more natural, but they're both very cool undertone. So if you are more fair, or if you want a very subtle contour and you don't want it to look crazy, I would suggest the Hoola because it is a little bit less pigmented, so you can You can build it up though and get a really nice contour from it, but it is a beautiful product, and this one is perfect for contouring with. Okay, the last two products are going to kind of cover the luxury and then the drugstore. I mostly talked about products from Sephora because that's mostly what I own, but I do have a drugstore product and a luxury product to mention as well. So let's start with the drugstore. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. Everybody has been talking about this bronzer since it came out, and there is a reason. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous bronzer, and it is perfect for contouring with. So of all the powders that I picked out, this is probably the least pigmented. So you are going to need to kind of build this up, but sometimes with a contour, that is a good thing because you don't want it to show up on your skin too crazy. You don't want to have like that brown or orange stripe on your face. You want something that you can blend out and build up with a contour so you get a very natural kind of a look from it. So that is why I really, really like this powder, and also it does have those cool undertones that you're looking for. It does also have a tiny, tiny bit of shimmer when you swatch it, but again, it's something that does not translate on your face when you apply it with a brush. So don't be afraid of that little bit of shimmer. It will still work very, very nicely for a contour. I would say of all the bronzers, this is probably the closest to Laguna, but it is cooler than Laguna. So if Laguna shows up too warm on you, but you like the way that it kind of looks, I would suggest trying this one. I think you will find that you like this one better than Laguna. Okay, and then the last product, I couldn't do this video without mentioning this here. This is from Charlotte Tilbury. I really wanted to find just single bronzers, but this one is a duo, a bronzer and highlight duo. I just couldn't go without mentioning this. I feel like you can purchase this bronzer on its own, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you can. But this is one of my favorite contouring products. It just works so beautifully. It just blends out like a dream. It's no work to blend out. It's another powder that is a little bit more on the subtle side, so you can build it up, and it's very, very cool undertone. So it works perfectly for contouring with. And actually, now that I'm looking at all the swatches, this is the coolest of all of them. Okay, so this right here is the Charlotte Tilbury powder. So as you can see from the lineup of the bronzers, this one definitely shows up the most cool. So you can see it's kind of almost grayish in tone compared to the other ones. So actually it's most similar to this one here, which is the Hoola. So those two are very, very similar. So I would say that's most similar to Hoola, but less pigmentation. So again, it's easier to kind of build up to get the look that you want, and so easy to blend out. So those are my top 5 picks for bronzers that you can use for contouring. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video today. If you have any suggestions on other bronzers that I should try out, make sure to leave those down below for me. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful summer, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.